Hi everyone, I'd like to read you a story called Rusty's Big Day Out. Long ago there lived a poor farmer called Fred who had a horse called Rusty. Once Rusty had been a good, strong horse. He had willingly pulled the plough and taken his master into town to sell his vegetables. Now he was too old to work on the farm, but the farmer couldn't bear to think of getting rid of him because he was so sweet-natured. "It would be like turning away one of my family," Fred used to say. Rusty spent his days grazing in the corner of the field. He was quite content, but he felt sad that he was no longer able to help the poor farmer earn his living. One day, Fred decided to go to town to sell a few vegetables. He harnessed Beauty, the young mare, to the wagon, and off they went. Beauty shook her fine mane and tossed a glance at Rusty, as if to say, "Look who's queen of the farmyard." While Fred was in the town, his eye was caught by a notice pinned to a tree. It said, "Horse parade at 2 p.m. today. The winner will pull the king's carriage to the grand banquet tonight." "There's not a moment to lose, my girl," said Fred. "We must get you ready for the parade." And he turned the wagon around. "Giddy up, Beauty," he called, and she trotted all the way back to the farm. Fred set to work to make Beauty look more lovely than she had ever done before. He scrubbed her hooves and brushed her coat until it shone. Then he plaited her mane and tied it with a bright red ribbon. Rusty watched from the field. "How fine she looks," he thought wistfully. "She's sure to win." He felt a bit sad that he was too old to take part in the parade, so he found a patch of the sweetest grass to graze on to console himself. All at once he heard Fred approach. "Come on, old boy," he said. "You can come too. It'll be fun for you to watch the parade, won't it?" Rusty was thrilled. It was a long time since the master had last taken him into town. Soon the three of them set off back into town, with Fred riding on Beauty's back and Rusty walking by their side. When they reached the parade ground, there were already a lot of people and horses there. There were horses of every shape and size. The parade began. The king and members of the royal court entered the parade ground and took their places. Then the king announced 3 contests. First, there would be a race from one end of the parade ground to the other. Then there would be a contest of strength. Each horse would have to try to pull a heavy carriage. Lastly, there would be a trotting competition. Each horse would have to carry a rider across the parade ground. Rusty tried his best, but he couldn't compete with the younger horses in the race and the contest of strength. All the other horses stared at him. "What's an old horse like you doing taking part in a contest like this?" one of them asked disdainfully. "You shouldn't have been allowed to compete at your age," taunted another. Then came the trotting competition. "I shall ride each horse in turn," declared the king. He climbed up onto the first horse, but it bolted and left the king hanging by the stirrups. The next horse threw the king right up in the air. The next horse was so nervous that his teeth chattered. Then it was Beauty's turn. She carried the king magnificently until she stumbled at the end. At last it was Rusty's turn. Rusty carried the king quite slowly and steadily, making sure he picked his feet up carefully so that His Royal Highness would not be jolted. "Thank you for a most pleasant ride," said the king, dismounting. There was a hush as the horses and their owners awaited the results of the contest. "I have decided," announced the king, "that Rusty is the winner. Not only did he give me a most comfortable ride, but he accepted his other defeats with dignity. Speed and strength are not everything, you know." Rusty and Fred were overjoyed, and even Beauty offered her congratulations. "Although I probably would have won if I hadn't stumbled," she muttered. So Rusty proudly pulled the king's carriage that evening, and he made such a good job of it that the king asked him if he could do it again the following year. Then the king asked Fred if his daughter could ride Beauty from time to time. He even gave Fred a bag of gold to pay for the horse's upkeep. So the three of them were so happy as they ever had been before, and they returned home to the farm that night. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story. Please take care and stay safe. Bye.